Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Brian Tate from the Innovative Payments Association. Welcome, Brian.
Donna, thank you for having me this afternoon.
I'm so glad that you could join us here today. I'm really looking forward to just learning more about the Innovative Payments Association and about your background in the payments industry. So why don't we start there? Would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about yourself, your background in payments, and the work that you do there at the Innovative Payments Association?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So for those who don't know, I'm Brian Tate. I'm the president and CEO of the Innovative Payments Association. Our group has been around for longer than people might believe. We've been around for about 15 years now, probably a little bit longer if I stop to check the exact date. But our group is like other trade groups in the Washington, D.C. area and other states, we are a trade group that represents payments companies. So we have members that are probably household names to you. Visa, MasterCard, Discover, US Bank, Truist, Fifth Third, but we have a number of smaller banks that are very big players in the payments industry that may not be household names. So Green Dot, Bancorp, Pathward, Lincoln Bank, Sutton Bank, Patriot Bank. We have members who are kind of fill every role in the value chain to help products come to market. So whether it's a net spend or a pay active in the earned wage acts, EWA space, our companies play a role kind of behind the scenes for the most part to help payments flow seamlessly. And our job is to advocate on their behalf. And what we try to do is advocate for a landscape that is competitive, that is regulated, and provides certainty and comfort to consumers. And so we feel that that is our role. We also help our members kind of understand what's happening around them in real time to the best we can in terms of current events or what may be the topical issues on Capitol Hill or with the regulators.
That's great. Such a valuable resource for your member organizations. So Brian, to kind of get us started talking more about what's happening in the payments industry, obviously there's a lot of change and innovation, but what would you say from your perspective is the most notable trend today in the payments industry?
Gosh, that's a good question. There's a lot we could talk about right now, whether it's AI or faster payments or open banking or the blockchain. But I think personally, and this is something I've shared with our members on several occasions, I think the most notable trend is that payments is growing. And more people are coming into the system through the kind of payment store and the resilience of the payment system and market. And the chief example I have is through COVID, where we all kind of at the snap of a wrist had to transition and move our lives very, very quickly. Not just the payments world, but everyone, it seemed, had to move very quickly. And the payment system worked throughout this process, even with people working from home, working remotely. The system worked. People's payments were able to go through. People still got paid. They were able to pay off personal items. And I think that is something that goes often overlooked by lots of people, whether it's the regulators or policymakers. Our members themselves don't even realize that sometimes they're working so hard in what they do. The time and effort and the money and the research and the investment in the infrastructure to make payments seem painless for consumers has paid off. And I think that will only continue to grow into the future.
Yeah, you mentioned COVID. Certainly the payments landscape has changed significantly since pre-COVID days and has really driven innovation in the industry. So let's talk now a little bit about what you perceive to be the top opportunity for organizations that process payments.
I think that's where you go into the new payment opportunities would be, like I mentioned, AI, faster payments, open banking. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. While we're still in this middle world transition between should we go back to work, and as we open up and try to get back to normal as best we can, I think there are opportunities to explore new technologies, new ways to get people into the system. If you're talking about faster payments, allowing payments to move quickly, so there isn't a lag. So you know exactly what's in your bank account when you make a payment and after you make a payment. I think there's a lot of potential in the blockchain, whether it's processing payments or allowing more transparency. Open banking, kind of in my view, empowers consumers. So I don't think there's one thing out there. There's one silver bullet per se, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for companies to reach consumers in ways we didn't think of 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or pre-COVID, right? If you looked at all the research pre-COVID, the trends were there where access to payments was growing. There's obviously a significant increase in mobile phone use over the last 10 years, including the last 3 probably, in terms of more people gaining access to the system. We can always do better. But at the same time, COVID accelerated all these things, and I feel people are becoming more comfortable with them, especially young people. If you look at the research, people under 30 are taking advantage of these opportunities then in ways that we couldn't kind of fully realize, again, 5, 10 years ago. My kids, I don't believe, have ever really been inside a financial institution. So I think they are able to interact with the world, and that includes banking, become more comfortable with it, and develop ways and strategies to save, become more prudent in ways that, probably you and I and others in our age bracket, had to learn along the way. They have access to more information than ever. And let's take open banking, for instance. They are able to pick and choose their providers for different products in a way, you and I couldn't have 20 years ago, where we walked in and wanted an auto loan, after graduating college or something, or access to a credit card. They can get a credit card from company X, get an auto loan from company B, and have it all at their fingertips and able to kind of go back and forth in a way that I just, simply think was unimaginable. And they will become more comfortable as they go through kind of the income ladder in the years to come, whether it's getting a mortgage, all of these things. Greater access, I think, is a benefit to all of us.
I would agree with that. Yeah. And certainly so many more options today, as you mentioned, than there were in previous years. So we talked about the greatest opportunities. What would you say is the biggest challenge for organizations that process payments?
Gosh, the greatest challenge right now, I do think, is combating fraud. And fraud has been on the rise for a variety of reasons. I think obviously the old saying is, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. And during COVID, I think people knew where the money was, right? They knew there was a lot of government support coming through financial institutions. There was going to be state level support, in some cases local level support. So they knew where the money was coming from. And the fraudsters, I try to remind people, have full-time jobs or to commit fraud. And so they are exploiting new technologies. They are taking advantage of new systems. And we're all kind of playing catch up in some ways. If someone's full-time job is to commit fraud all the time, you have to put investments. And I think the large majority of financial institutions and their partners have made those investments, but nothing is perfect, right? What worked yesterday may not work today. And one of the things in talking to our members, law enforcement, security professionals, is that there needs to be more communication between companies and the government and vice versa. There needs to be a different view of how these things work, in terms of this is a partnership, in terms of making sure that we are exchanging information, that we know what's going on in real time. Just like there's faster payments, there probably needs to be a way of faster communication, or real-time communication. So fraudsters know that not all of these parts are working together all the time. They also know that different parts of the country this is a big place, may not always be interconnected. And so what happens in Florida may not be something that is known in Seattle, Washington. And fraudsters like to take advantage of people's kind of ignorance or just not being aware of what's happening in different regions. So what happens a lot of times, you see fraud filter from one region to another bank to another. And it's like water. A lot of security experts like to tell me that it filters down, right? So the largest institutions probably get hit first, but they have a lot more resources to invest in the system, and it filters down to smaller institutions. But the goal should be here to protect everyone, to make sure, again, the system works seamlessly and there aren't any hiccups here. So it's going to be a challenge, especially with just new technology, whether it's a chat GPT or something else that comes up. There's always going to be the next thing. And so we're going to have to learn it, be aware of it, and take advantage of the opportunity to mitigate fraud. Again, not just working by yourself, but working across different streams.
Yeah, that's so true. So, fraud is certainly a moving target. Just as we have one thing figured out, they're moving on to the next thing, right? So I agree
Yes,
with you. We do almost need like faster fraud prevention, right? Everybody communicating and sharing what they're learning. Very good.
absolutely. And we have been involved in different groups at the IRS. We're involved with one now at the FTC. And these partnerships we think are beneficial. Again, working with the government, we have done events with the FBI recently. There needs to be kind of a broader outreach on all sides, not both, because there's more than two, to make sure that we are all kind of following the same thing and communicating and working together.
Yeah, very good. I agree. So my last question, which is the most difficult, and I know you already alluded to the fact that there is no one single silver bullet, but if you were to choose one piece of advice to leave our audience with, what would that be?
I think it would be compliance, in that compliance is important, and compliance should not be an afterthought. Compliance should be part of your business model. There should be somebody at the table as companies developing new products or new ideas, should have a compliance person to say, hey, can we do that? Should be aware of all the regulations. One of the things we try to do when working with our members is to make sure that they are aware of the regulations they need to know in order to be fully compliant in terms of bringing our product to market. And once it's in market, to make sure that you're doing everything you can to stay within those rules. Regulators enforce them. Policymakers are always overseeing the regulators, so there's different layers there. The agencies work together, and we don't say that to kind of have people encourage people to work with us. Of course, we want them to do that. We say that because it's important, and we want to make sure that the consumer who has faith in the system continues to have that faith. All of this relies on trust, and our members, I know, are trying to do their best to do the right thing every day. But we do talk to some companies, especially startups, because they're focused on their products and trying to get them to market. And I understand that. And some of them are small, but they're going to have to, especially with the recent kind of issues with SVB and Signature, and others having difficulty with their compliance. I think those should be good examples of why it is important to have professionals who know what they're doing as part of your leadership team and part of your business plan.
Right. And if you don't have it on staff, obviously there are professionals who, serve in capacities like yourself that provide that kind of advice and guidance. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So there are a number of different companies where this is their focus, where you can hire them. They will work with you as consultants or partner up with you. But it is important that whatever product, whether it's a mobile wallet, a card of some kind, buy now, pay later, we all need help understanding the rules. And it's important that you follow them, because again, faith is what underpins all of this, and the consumer has to have faith here that you're doing the right thing, as well as your colleagues in the whole ecosystem.
Right. Yeah. And there was obviously a lot of clamoring after what happened recently in Silicon Valley and Silicon Valley Bank, and people were becoming fearful. So good that the FDIC stepped in, but yeah, we want to prevent those kinds of things from happening, right?
Yeah, so, they may be outliers or not. We're watching closely, but I think if you go through some of the reports and articles on SVB, I think one of the issues was compliance. And not to kind of pick on them, but that's the most notable situation that's popped up recently. But you can go all the way back to the crisis and the making sure you have professionals in place with controls and checklists,
Right.
and the background to do the job is critically important.
Great. Well, that's about all the questions I have for you. But before I let you go, I definitely want to make sure that our audience knows how to learn more about your organization, and also if they wanted to get in touch with you, how they might do that.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk to anyone in the payment system. Our organization, again, is the Innovative Payments Association, and our website is www.ipa.org.
Okay, fantastic. Brian, I just want to thank you so much for your wisdom and your insights, just for taking time out of your busy schedule to share with our audience here today. And I also want to thank everybody for watching. Have a great day.
Thank you, Don.